listening to a proud member of the Dice Tower Network, dedicated to bringing podcasters together for the greater good of gaming. It's sort of like Voltron, but with better lip syncing. Find out more at dicetowernetwork.com.
Welcome to Board Gamers Anonymous, a podcast about gamers and the insane fun we have at the table together. This is Anthony.
This is Chris.
This is Daniel.
And this is Drew.
Welcome to the episode, everybody. We missed you last week, but for a very, very good reason. We were in New Jersey. We're holding our second annual Extra Life event.
Yay!
All right, so we had...
I'm sorry, I can go, yay!
So we had a lot of fun. We met a lot of great people. We raised a lot of money for a local children's hospital in New Jersey. It was a ton of fun. So we just wanted to take a moment and thank everybody who was involved in that event. All the publishers who donated games. We got a lot of games from a lot of different publishers. Smirk and Dagger, Brotherwise, AEG, Stronghold Games, Steve Jackson Games, Cards Against Humanity, Privateer Press, Arcane Wonders, Calliope Games sent us a ton of stuff. They were extremely supportive. Thank you so much. Cryptozoic, all these great games. Plus, and that was like half of it, we got a ton of local support from listeners, local gamers from the store we were holding the event at. Just a lot of great stuff, and a lot of people showed up, and it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, we definitely want to send a special thank you to Scott and David from Gamers Gambit. We wouldn't be able to do the event without you. Your generous donations, your support, and your hosting of an outrageously successful event. Thank you so much. The listeners who showed up there, it was great meeting you, and we really enjoyed seeing you. We want you to come out again and play with us. And a special thank you to Bergen County Board Gamers Meetup and New Jersey Board Gamers. They promoted like heck. It got out to everybody. There was a huge turnout, and just big thanks to everybody out there.
I had a fantastic time that day.
It was fun, yeah.
Love to get out to New Jersey and play with those guys again.
Yeah, especially, shout outs out to Tom and Yitz for kind of bringing their groups in, and everyone just came off the street, all the Magic players, all the RPGers. I mean, we just had such a diverse range of people just caring about the children. Each and every time we did the auction, it'd be like,
of the children.
And they did, and we raised a lot of money, and they were very, very generous, and it was a great event, and we packed so much into such a little amount of time, and there was just such a good, positive spirit throughout the day. And it was just nice to see that everyone cared, everyone got along, everyone was playing board games every time. And we actually got to play board games, which was different than last year, which was great. And it's just such a great community. If you haven't taken part in the board game community, maybe you just play board games with your friends, you're missing out, because these are a bunch of the greatest people you could ever sit down and play a game with, because just friendly, interactive, and great time.
It was awesome having a marathon session with them too. I mean, the raffle, you have to be present to win the raffle. So everybody who contributed, they just stayed there all day playing games. It was, playing games for a couple hours is great, but playing games for 12 hours is awesome.
Yeah, and you got at least one big one in that you don't normally get in to fill that time.
The game?
Yeah, Dominaire.
Oh, Dominaire, yes. Almost forgot I played that. Yeah, that's a game that builds slowly, but man, you really get into it. It's 2-3 hour game.
I got tired just watching it. But it looks fun.
Well, it was late. We were playing it like 10 o'clock at night.
Yeah, I don't know how you guys managed to pull that through at the end of a 12-hour day of gaming. Let's just play the heaviest game I have.
Yeah, Daniel was pretty wiped.
Yeah.
But we were also able to get Glory to Rome. That was a fun find, thanks to David for bringing that out, and we all got to play that. And amazingly enough, got it in under the wire.
Yeah.
Because somebody built the catacombs.
Yeah, Chris was like, I gotta end this game.
I'm like, catacombs for the win! And pulled it off by a point, so that was good.
All right, yeah, so Extra Life was amazing, so we're already going to start planning for next year. Thank you again to everybody who donated, and if you weren't there and want to donate, you still can. There's still a link on the website that's going to be up for the next few weeks, so you can still participate. You can be part of this awesome community and help the children.
For the children.
All right, so that's what we were up to last week. In the meantime, Drew gathered some great news for us. Take it away, Drew.
Yes, let's shout it from the tabletop. Some great news. Since I'm doing some shouting, I want to shout out to Purple Pawn. a great website that I read religiously. It's probably one of the best board game news sites out there. A lot of things, at least one item every week that I talk about with you guys is something I first learned about from them. So I encourage everybody, if you want a really good news site, Purple Pawn. One of the things I found out about from them was this unique Poker Stars chess tournament. A couple months ago, I reported on that they were going to have that on the Isle of Man. Well, they reported on the results of that intriguing tournament. Purple Pawn didn't. They told me that the tournament was over, but I had to dig this out on my own to find out who won that hybrid chess and poker tournament.
Okay.
That was interesting. It was a fellow from Norway, Bard Dahl, who was actually a poker player, professional poker player, won 1,800 pounds. It was the top prize. So you had chess players and you had poker players all playing. And here was the thing: the chess players were getting all this extra money because for every game you win in this little pre-qualifying tournament, you get more money. But of course, the poker players didn't care. They blew it off because they know they'd get it all back in the poker part, and they did. The curious thing is that the world chess champion is Norwegian, and now the world chess/poker champion is Norwegian. Interesting hybrid. And I know when I brought this up the last time, I asked about whether we could do that kind of tournament some other way, blending some games with poker. We'll have to try that at some point in the future when we do our little mini conventions.
Are you talking about Smash Up, Drew?
Smash Up? And then, so you earn money from playing Smash Up.
Oh, okay, that too.
Because that's the idea. You play a round of games to earn money, and then you have the poker tournament.
There you go.
To lose it all. Because everybody gets winnings from the first round, and then only one person walks away with the top prize, I think, with the second one. So we got to do that. A hybrid tournament. It was really cool. Also, something else I found out from Purple Pawn, they have like a bi-weekly report of all the championships, all the news with the golf scoreboard. World Catan Championship was decided. A fellow from Estonia won that. Couldn't find out exactly how much he won, but it's just intriguing that there are games out there that you can just focus on and travel the world and make money. And you know, who knew when you were a kid and your mother says, you gonna make money from playing all those games? Well, yeah, you can. Why not? Not only can you make a little money playing board games, but you can make a career out of it. New York University, NYU, last year started a Master of Fine Arts program in game design. And coming next spring, 2015, they're expanding that to include a Bachelor of Fine Arts degree. So now you can get your entire college education focused around board games.
Brilliant.
You can make money designing them. You can make money playing them. Is this a wonderful time we're living in, guys?
Well, I don't know if the make money statement fits with the rest of that, but
A little money. You can make a little.
that's the rest of it's factual.
Yeah. Well,
Results not guaranteed.
no. You can make a few $100 here and there. Why not?
Well, if you do what you love, you'll make money. I mean, if reality television has taught us anything, you know, somebody making cupcakes and the parents going, you'll never make money, and then they get a reality TV show, now they're making millions of dollars. So if you can create something that people love, there's no end to it.
Okay, so the lesson here is spend a lot of money on a BFA at NYU and then get a reality TV show on the History Channel, and you'll make $1 million.
Well, that's
There you
true
go.
too. But you could make the next Settlers of Catan or the next Ticket to Ride.
So a reality show about designing board games.
Ooh.
Right? Why not?
Yeah.
Make it happen.
America's next top board game designer.
There you go.
A quick bit of news. Rio Grande is releasing 2-player rules for Power Grid. There are some people that really wanted that. I know a lot of listeners, a lot of gamers are solo players and they're two-person players. They just play with their significant others. Power Grid released the 2-player version in their recent big box deluxe set, but they're creating a PDF and posting that online, so you can just play 2-player with any Power Grid set that you have.
So like straight 2-player, no robots?
No robots?
Yeah, you can buy. There's a robots
yeah.
expansion you can buy. That.
No, that's without an expansion.
Okay.
So they're just making the PDF available.
Okay.
So they've designed that.
Which is cool. It opens up. I think every game should be 2 players because I read about so many 2-player people.
Yeah, if a game's 3 and up, I won't buy it because I know I won't play it at home. So.
That's it. Yeah. And you have a second player at home that you're introducing games to.
Yes. And his mother, who occasionally
That's it.
lowers herself to play games with me.
One of the most intriguing bits of news to come out of the past couple weeks was at the box office. The number one movie a couple weeks back was Ouija, or Ouija, however way you want to pronounce it. It is the first time in movie history that a board game has come in at number one on the box office list. However, the question we need to address is Ouija really a board game?
Well, it does have a long history, right? I mean, there was that time where you had the quote-unquote spiritual practice of summoning spirits, and then someone said, hey, let's sell that to everybody. Throughout the generations, there have been a good number of, I guess, spiritual practitioners who either hate it because maybe you could accidentally do something bad, which I think is the point of this movie. It mocks what they do, or it just kind of, you're trying to sell off a trinket or a toy that is not going to happen or could be just like ripping people off. But it's a board game as much as I guess you want to say other dexterity games are in such a way, because there is that kind of, I don't know, bodily, psychologically kind of principle that your body just, if everyone puts their hands on that puck piece,
Sending vibes.
it moves it just unintentionally. So I guess, there are some board games out there that actually require less thinking than Ouija in some ways.
Fair enough.
Would you call it a toy?
Yes.
Yeah, it doesn't really have rules, right? There's no victory condition for Ouija.
Yeah,
It's
no
not a
competition.
game. It
Yeah,
doesn't meet any of the
yeah.
definitions of game.
Yeah, there's no contest, no rule, no
Well, if you
victory.
contact the undead, then that's how you win the game.
There you go.
So
It fulfills the definition of tabletop, but not game.
Mm-hmm.
So we're still looking for that first true tabletop game to hit box office.
Or that isn't horrible, because this movie got horrible reviews.
Yeah.
well, it's a horror movie.
But they all got paid, so...
They all got paid. So there was a victory somewhere for somebody there.
Yeah.
There was. Let's put it this way: there were winners, and clearly there were losers.
Let's focus on the winners for our last point.
ICV2, the entertainment industry website, released their summer white paper discussing how sales were in the various entertainment fields. So I'm going to do it a little bit differently with you guys. This week, I'm just going to tell you the category, and Family Feud style, we're going to put the top 10 answers on the board.
42.
You guys get one shot at naming a game on that list, and Chris, don't look at my list.
Aw.
And whoever has the highest one on the list wins this round.
All right.
Okay, the list is top 10 card/dice games for the summer of 2014. Okay, Chris, you're to my left. I'm starting with your top one from the summer. It could be an evergreen or something that's been a recent popular game.
Magic?
Well, that wouldn't. Okay,
It's a card game.
the CCGs are a whole category
Oh,
themselves.
all right.
Yeah, we brought that up last time.
Okay.
I should have reminded you.
That's all right.
Yeah.
Love letter?
Love letters, your guess, Anthony?
Smash Up.
Smash Up.
I really don't like this game, but I'm going to go with Cards Against Humanity.
Cards Against Humanity.
You win. There's no way that doesn't win.
Well, I'll tell you. Cards Against Humanity comes in at number 9 on the
Really?
top 10 list. Yes.
That keeps a lot.
Shame on you, Daniel.
9th popular game.
It's gonna be Uno or something.
Which is actually something that neither of these guys scored. Both you guys are not in the top 10.
Wow.
So Daniel, the guy who hates this game, won. Cards Against Humanity. The top 3 were number 3, Adventure Time, Card Wars.
Really?
Ugh.
Yeah. Well, it's the hotness, right?
I guess.
Everybody wants it. Number 2, Android Netrunner.
Huh.
Number
That's a
1,
solid game.
Boss Monster.
That's an excellent
Oh.
game. Really?
Yeah, nobody thought of that.
I would not have thought it was that's good that it's doing that well. Because
Number
it's a
one for the
fantastic
It's really
game.
picked up a lot of momentum in the last year.
Yeah.
That's a huge Kickstarter success if you want one.
Yeah,
Sure.
it worked. So those were our top 3, and that is our news from the tabletop.
Alrighty. So next up, let's dive right in, look at some of our acquisition disorders lately, including some games we actually added to our collections from our long lists. That's coming right up next. Acquisition Disorder Corner. right, so acquisition disorders this week. Anything anybody's looking at that looks interesting?
Well, as you guys know, I've been talking about picking up the D&D books for a while, and not too long ago I picked up both the Player's Handbook and the Monster Manual, and coming out soon is the new Dungeon Master's Guide. And historically, I have not really needed to lean on those too heavily, but they do offer a lot of additional material you can throw in. And this edition of D&D has been so awesome throughout, at least from my looking at it, that I'm pretty excited about the possibility of picking up the new Dungeon Master's Guide when it comes out.
Yeah, I grabbed the Player's Handbook too. It's really cool. So I don't need any of the other books. That's probably where I'll stop. I'm not running a campaign, but it's just fun to read. It's been a while since I grabbed one of these and read it, and I'm like, this is cool, because the 4th edition handbook was not fun to read.
No, it really wasn't.
Hey, look at all these powers that are stupid and break the game.
Yeah.
So, no, it's a lot of fun, and you can see where they went back on some things and where they've evolved a few other things. It's a lot of fun to read through. So I'm excited for you to build a campaign for me to run through.
You bet. Just give me some time.
I'm going to kill me some kobolds.
Not if they're Tucker's kobolds, man. They'll come and get you. Marked in formation.
Yeah, don't challenge the DM. What are you doing?
Send them wave after wave. Come on, bring them on, bring them on.
I don't want to be in his party. I've left the party.
About the party.
On the D&D side of things, this is a game I actually just picked up, but I wasn't gonna buy it, but I bought it because it looked really nice, and that was the D&D Attack Wing, which just came out this last week. So, if you've listened to this for a while, you know my general opinion of WizKids' production quality. It's not good, historically speaking. Their stuff is pretty awful looking, but it's definitely gotten better in the last year, and I think that's best illustrated by the new Attack Wing stuff. It looks decent. And it doesn't look amazing, but it looks good considering it's a mass-produced miniature product and it's painted. These starter sets, the 3 dragons, they look good. Like, I wouldn't have a problem putting these up on a shelf somewhere. So that alone, plus the fact that it was reasonable, plus it looked new, plus this ground-to-air combat thing looks pretty awesome. Plus, you can apparently make people fly to fight the dragons. It's going to be awesome. So I've just been digging through it. We haven't actually got it to the table yet, but it looks cool, and there's enough expansions that I can now put it on the acquisition disorder list, and probably realistically need to figure out what to do with those X-Wing models at this point, because I'm never going to play that game.
Can you put this 2 sets together?
Wow.
I mean, there are similar rule sets, but I'm sure it's not meant to be played that way, but you might be able to play it that way.
I'm sure someone will come up with a hybrid rule set. You know, you can do that.
You could do it. I don't know how well it would work, but
Because it's
Dragons
probably
versus spaceships, that would be kind of awesome.
that would be pretty awesome. Yeah, you have land troops just shooting up at them. Well, I guess they're D&D, so they'll be throwing spears.
Yeah.
but magical
spells.
spears.
Yes, magic missile.
Magic missile.
Oh man,
The day that the day that a TIE fighter gets taken out by a flying orc with a magic weapon. Oh yeah, I'm in.
we've made it.
Yeah.
Folks, society has made it.
This is clearly
We're
the
winning.
pinnacle. Yeah.
Oh man, anybody else got anything on the acquisition disorder radar?
Well, I just found out about Dominion, that they are back in business. It seems like Rio Grande figured out that deck building games are not dead, and they're bringing Dominion back to life. Deck builders are really they're continuing to be strong. So major expansion coming for 2015, and it's time to dust off the old cards, add some new sets to them. I think they've decided now to go for evergreen status, to become the Magic the Gathering of deck builders. That they're always going to be there, they're always going to have something new, keep the sales up. It's a solid game, and I'm curious to see what is going to come out, what they're going to put out.
Because this was supposed to be over, right? The last expansion was supposed to be done. They were supposed to wrap up. So this is kind of a surprise that they're producing a new expansion for this.
Yeah, they like I say, I think they want to be eternal.
Yeah, maybe they finally hired somebody to listen to their fans. Like, oh, you want more Dominion? Okay. Oh, you want us to reprint San Juan? Okay. Oh, you want a power grid with halfway decent components? Okay.
Don't tease me with the reprinting of San Juan.
Cool. Who knows? They might surprise us.
Yeah, it could happen. I hope it happens.
That'd be fantastic.
Yeah. All right, that's everything for the acquisition disorders this week. Next up, we're going to take a look at what we've been playing lately. Kicking the Habit.
Hey Kickers, this is Chris from Kicking the Habit, and on episode 21, we're going to take a look back at Strife, Legacy of the Eternals, Mint 10 Games, Pirates and Aliens, Meteor, a real-time cooperative card game, 9-shooter quick draw, a new square shooters game, and for our feature review, the interactive Museum of Gaming and Puzzlery that's now on Indiegogo. So check us out on Wednesday, November 12th, 2014, and I'll let you know what games to kick off, what games to kick back and wait, and especially what games to kick to the curb.
At the table this week. All right, so we got a few games to the table at Extra Life this year, which, by the way, is a marked improvement from last year, in which I played all of one game, and it was like half of a game of Summoner Wars, with me and Chris half asleep,
That's right.
being like, whatever. I wish that had been filmed. I bet it would have been funny. It was like the least interested game of Summoner Wars ever.
Oh, like, I hit your guy. You're like, all right, man, whatever. Can I go sit down?
We're gonna have the raffle, whatever. Don't play Summoner Wars at 3 in the morning. Doesn't work. But this year we got a lot of games to the table. And one of those games, which was won, this was donated by Smirk and Dagger. This was won by one of the gamers who was there, Seth, and that was Dread Curse. Dread Curse is a game that we'd played previously. I don't think we've talked about it here, but Kurt over at Smirk and Dagger donated it to us last year, so we played it after last year's Extra Life. Again this year, again a hit with the gamer who won it. So we wanted to talk about it because it was kind of a fun game. It fits into that Smirk and Dagger look and feel of games where you're kind of getting each other, Cutthroat and Cavern style, but not quite as mean as that. The goal of this game being to collect the most money. There's a bag full of money, but also in that bag full of money are black spots that if you have at the end of the game, you just straight up lose. So you have to try to get the most money while simultaneously giving that black spot to someone else. We played with 3 players, which meant there were 2 black spots, which means only one person could win. This actually completely changes the game, but I've played it both ways. So the game, I think, probably is intended to play with more people, where you can kind of float these things around and try to keep track of where it's at. But with 3 people, it really is just a matter of like hot potato. You're just trying to get rid of that black spot.
Yeah, I ended up winning with the least coins on the table because I had so few of them that there was no chance that one of them was a black spot.
Yeah. The game really is get rid of your coins,
Yeah.
There are 8 different roles in the game, and you're going to bid. Basically, you bid for captaincy. Mm-hmm. That's the number 1 rank, and then there's 7 more after that, and you just choose in order which one you want. And each of them has their own special power. They call it a cheat. That lets you tweak things. So some of them let you give away coins, for example, which is super helpful if you're trying to get rid of a black spot. Others let you draw a lot more coins, which is good if you're just trying to get more money to win. But again, with 3 players, that didn't seem to matter very much.
No.
And then there's cards you can draw that have special powers that just let you mess with people. So, including a card that gets rid of all of the other cards, which Daniel glared at me for 10 minutes. I thought he was going to flip the table.
I was just about to get like twice my pot's worth of coins in one play, and then he destroyed everything.
To be fair, I was trying to play the card that let me give away a coin, and you guys kept stopping me. The only thing I could do was just destroy everything.
Yeah.
I just scorch earth it.
It was a totally legitimate move, but it totally legitimately screwed me.
Yeah. So it's not quite on the level of Cutthroat Caverns in terms of end friendship games, but it is a Smirk and Dagger game. So there are going to be those moments where you're like, come on! But I don't dislike it. Like, I don't usually like those stab your partner in the back kind of games because it just creates that tension that's really hard to maintain. This one's a little lighter. It's a quicker game, like 30-40 minutes. So it was fun. I would play it again. I don't typically buy these kinds of games for myself, but if I was going to, this might be one that I would pick up.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty light, and it's one of those, you do get screwed a lot, but it's hard to take it seriously, so, you'll glare, but not really.
The black spot, it's something I've heard before. Was that Treasure Island? Robert Louis Stevenson, did they rip that off from...
Well, it's
because the black spot, that was like, you're dead. You're dead,
Yep,
man.
it's the curse.
Yeah, the curse.
Yeah.
Muppets Go to Treasure Island had it too.
Oh. That's where you remember it.
The captain's got that like skeleton hand where he's like half cursed,
Yeah.
So it's the archetypal pirate curse, but it's fun, and it was really light and quick, and the game flows fast enough that even if you do get kind of stabbed in the back repeatedly, you still have a chance of winning, but also the game doesn't take so long that you're like, oh my god.
Yeah.
There's a lot of... This game surprisingly has strategy to it, how you play things out. So it's not just like, hey, you're going to do something good. I stop you again and again and again. It really does like, I'm going to play this at a certain point, then use this special card, and then use that ability. So I have to make sure I have that role. So... I mean, for me, I usually don't like those type of games. This game I do like a lot. It's probably one of my favorite Smirk and Dagger games.
Yeah, it's fun. I would pick it up if I needed a game like this.
Yeah.
I don't currently have, again, I don't have a spot in my collection. I think our group would do fine with it, but just in general, those are tough games to get to the table. But if someone wanted a stab your partner in the back game, this is the one I would recommend.
Well, I know everyone else has played this before, but I played for the first time Seven Wonders of the Leaders expansion, which I'm sure most of our listeners are familiar with. The Leaders add on a new unit that you can buy at the beginning of each phase that adds special powers that help you build up a chain to eventually, hopefully, conquer the world. I've been a fan of Seven Wonders since I first played it. I think it is the first game I played with you guys, so it has a special place in my heart. And playing the Leaders expansion was fun. It added, an additional mechanic on top of a familiar game. It sort of revitalized a game that had started to get a little stale. Not too much earth-shattering about it, right? It wasn't like, this is a totally different game, which is good in a sense, because it meant that I could still, I was still familiar with how the game would progress. But yeah, it's just an additional layer, nothing fundamentally earth-shattering about it, but it did make the game a little bit more fun, a little bit more complex, a little bit more engaging.
Yeah, this is my favorite expansion, I guess, at least until Babel hits the table, because when you get the leaders, when you do that first kind of card drafting, and you have, the 4 leaders in your hand, you can actually build a strategy. And when you play Seven Wonders normally, you get 1 or 2 cards and you're thinking, maybe I'll go science, or I got a good blue culture card, maybe I'll go that way. But with the leaders, you can actually build something to begin with. I know, Daniel, you had the one that reduced the science cards.
Yeah, Archimedes.
Yeah, so it put you on an initial path to begin with, but it does have enough flexibility that since you do, in the end, discard one of those leader cards, you can choose which 3 to play, or you can cash out for gold. So for me, I always play with leaders. It gives you strategy, and it gives the game a little more character, because I guess you have characters in the game, so it's like it actually has a face to go along with the game. And it's cool to think about, like, I'm, like Archimedes in Egypt, and that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the DC deck builder of Civilization games, right? Archimedes in Egypt with the Colossus of Rhodes. The history majors were like, no. No, but I agree. It's I love Seven Wonders. It's a fun game. It tends to be the go-to game when everybody's like, what do we play now? There's 6 of us. I guess Seven Wonders. But then everybody has fun. It's fine. Mm-hmm. With the Leaders expansion, it's cool because if everybody there has at least played the base game, it takes 5 minutes to teach this new mechanic. Because it's not even a new mechanic, it's just you're drafting more cards, and they have slightly different icons on them. So here's the book to look at the icons. That's it. That's all that it adds. But somehow it's just, this is one of the things Bowser always does really well, is finds a way to add something very subtle, very simple, like not too much. Like some game designers they do too much. Like, I gotta add stuff to this game. Okay, so we need a new module. Now 2 new modules, and 8 miniatures, and a new board, and 3 decks of cards. And it may or may not work. And he's like, alright, 1 deck of cards, 1 book with some new mechanics. That's it. We're just gonna tweak what we have. And it just fundamentally improved the game. And like Daniel said, in a very subtle way, it's not earth-shattering, but it makes it, especially if you've played Seven Wonders like 80 times, it makes it kind of a new game.
Quick question. You only have an opportunity to bring out 1 expansion. Would it be Leaders or Cities?
Leaders.
Leaders. I mean, people like Cities a lot because it does a couple of things that people have been clamoring for, which is more player interaction. So with cities, you'll be able to use spy cards, which will allow you to copy technology of other players. You'll be able to play the other black cards. Also do the tax everybody at the table, which is a nice additional dynamic. And cities is necessary if you want to play with 8 players.
Yeah.
So if for some reason you're getting 8 players together and you want to play Seven Wonders, which is great, then you must have cities because it's the only one that lets you do 8, and the 8 is usually teams of 2.
But but for 7 players, you say there's more bang for the buck with leaders.
I think so.
Yeah,
enjoy it.
Yeah.
And it's telling that I've played this game, I don't know, maybe 30 times, and nobody's pulled out cities any of those times except once, and only one person out of the 7 playing put any of the black cards down. It's just it's a cool mechanic and it does add to the game. It's just, it seems to not really fit the feel. People, I want to play Seven Wonders, there's a certain feel you want to go for. Cities doesn't really fit that.
Leaders caters to that.
And you can play both. You can play cities
Combine
and
them.
leaders in the same one, and there are leaders that specifically benefit from the cities cards.
Does that bog the game down, though? Is there too much AP
No.
if you combine them?
I don't think so. Not at all. It plays. You just have to take out a certain number of cards. It plays very smoothly.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's hard to AP in Seven Wonders in general. It's one of those games that moves at a good clip the entire time, I think.
Yeah, you only have, usually after the first 2 or 3 turns, you have somewhat of a direction you're going. You have limited choices. You're like, I have 6 cards, but only 2 of these are viable.
Yeah.
Or none of them are viable, I'll build a wonder. That's it. Those are your options. It's one of the genius things about this game.
Just gotta wait for Babel. Babel!
Let's make the game more fiddly with another board.
But it's a cool board.
I want to see how it works, and early reviews have been good, so we shall see.
Bowser! Love you.
All right, so one more game we got to the table. Chris.
Oh, so we had an opportunity to play Machi Koro. This was the game that was released at Origins, and it's kind of a weird mix between being an outstanding kind of complex dice rolling game and absolutely adorable little kind of almost kid-looking game with the graphic design and the cartoon artwork. It almost looks like an app game with those little pictures of the different buildings. Mm-hmm. It's so approachable, and since you're rolling dice, it's pretty simple as far as that's concerned, considering the mechanics. You sit down and you'll start with a wheat field and is it a cafe?
Bakery.
A bakery. And depending on how you roll the dice throughout the game, you can benefit. People can steal resources off of you, or you can take resources from other people. And when you receive those resources, you can buy other buildings, which are also cards in the game. And those cards chain together so that you can build up your resource pile in order to build one of these 4 kind of final buildings that will win you the game. And whoever builds the 4 buildings first wins that game. And it's light, fun, interesting gateway game with seemingly no end as far as expansions are concerned, because you're just kind of swapping out the different decks. And this game probably would benefit greatly by a number of different expansions. There's one coming out kind of on its heels in a couple of weeks. But an outstanding fun game that you can really play with anybody.
Yeah, this is a game, I picked it up recently when it came out. They had the promos for the Gaming Megastore, so I wanted to grab it while those were hot. But it is super simple, and like the comparisons that I heard early were like a card game version of Catan, which it's a little like that because you are building out, your options, and then dice rolls will affect what you get based on those where you're at. So, and you can double up like you could in Catan, so you could build 3 of the same number. So when you roll that number, you get multiple bonuses. You're not getting resources per se; you're just getting money, which you then use to build your landmarks. But it's got that same idea where there's strategy involved, but in the end, it really comes down to the dice rolls. Yeah. You're just trying to build towards the most likely dice rolls that are going to benefit you, and at the same time, try to block what other people are doing.
Yeah, anytime you can build a tableau, I'm happy.
Yeah, it's fun. And there's the mechanic to kind of steal from other people's a little limited. It only really applies on 3 dice roll numbers. There's the cafe, which is a 3. So if you build those, you have the 1 in 6 chance on everybody else's turn to steal money, which actually worked really well for me. So I think it does work. And then there's the 9-10 when you get to the 2 dice. And you can upgrade at a certain point to roll 2 dice. But if people are building a lot of cafes, then there's a risk to that. So there's a lot of balancing and measuring what other people are doing. But at the same time, the game is severe. Like, it's a lot of momentum. Like, if somebody starts to build momentum with even a little bit of a money engine, the game will end pretty quickly. Yeah. Like, it only takes 2 really good rolls pulling in 20 or 25 coins and the game's over. Which seems to be how it's built, which is fine. So as long as you know that you know it's kind of a race. Like, you got to get the money quickly. It takes 52 total cash to build all your landmarks. So
they have one card in there which allows you to swap out someone else's card for one of yours, which is a way of breaking that engine. But we just never got the chance to really put that into practice. So it's not like if somebody has an engine that it's invincible. It's just that somebody among the opponents has to step forward and say, okay, I'm going to break it. And nobody wanted to do that.
Yeah, I mean, and that's one of those things in these kinds of games is like, you get to choose. Like, do I go stop somebody, or do I keep trying to build my own thing and hope that I can beat him? Like, do I race, or do I, like, put a roadblock up? Same thing in Catan. You're like, well, if I go this way with my road, I can make my road longer, or I could go this way and block him off. But that could hurt me. Why would I hurt myself unless the benefit... Like, there's the cost-benefit ratio. You have to
and then it comes down to dice rolls, too. So, I mean, you can build the best tableau, you're just not rolling the dice. But what I really like, too, it reminded me of Dominion in a way, too, because I think even when Anthony was doing this in the second game was, you got to build an engine, you have to build a tableau, you have to kind of catch a certain number of die rolls that you want to be able to hit. But at some point, you have to start purchasing the victory point kind of buildings at the end. What I liked was, unlike Dominion, it doesn't clutter your tableau. It actually gives you a special ability, each one of those. So, like, roll an extra die, get an extra bonus, roll the die again. If you get doubles, you can take an extra turn. So I really like that part of it, that the victory condition wasn't hindering you, which it usually does in most games.
Yeah. It's the kind of game that rewards conservative play. Rather than trying to build up and get more dice to get more options, the one die method seemed to work.
It worked in both games.
Play conservatively, yeah.
And you got some lucky die rolls on that, too.
Yeah, I had an engine set up where every time I'd roll a 7, I'd collect a lot of money. It's just I rolled 3s more often than you rolled 7and
You're rolling 2 dice, you rolled 3s. Drew gave me more money than the game that I got for myself.
The 3 was terrible.
And I kept rolling 4s, which was very beneficial.
So it's a game where you can set up your cards, your tableau based on probability, but then you still got to roll the numbers.
Got to roll the numbers, man.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's a fun game that was charismatic and simple. I think expansions would help it greatly because right now there are a limited number of options, right? So after playing it twice, I'm kind of like, yeah, I know what's on the board. And now it really does just feel like it's dice. It all matters. That's all that matters, how the dice come up. I don't feel like there's not a whole lot more creative things I could do putting stuff together. I think we found the formulas. And so I'd like to see more cards come out so there'd be new formulas to make.
That's it, yeah.
I think it's a good new gateway game. Like, if you're looking for a new gateway game in your collection, you're tired of teaching people Catan, this could be a good one.
It beats the heck out of Catan.
As a gateway, yeah.
Yeah. And it's quicker, and you don't have that trade element that can bog the game down.
Yeah.
So, and on my acquisition disorder list, I'll just jump ahead, is the expansion, because I think it comes out in December, so I'm going to pick that up, and we'll see what that adds to the game.
All right.
Yeah.
All right, so that's everything at the table this week. Next up, our feature review with Drew is Pandemic Contagion.
Achoo! Uh-oh.
And now for the feature review.
Well, the first thing I have to say about Pandemic Contagion is that Z-Man respects the brand. It's great to see a publisher who nurtures a brand, and every time they come out with something, it moves it forward. Pandemic itself is a game that didn't really have much future other than creating some more characters, some more roles. You could expand it. You couldn't really change much about it through a few more events. So they took the next step and redeveloped it, reinvented the wheel, so to speak, reinvented new versions of Pandemic. So for Z-Man, it came down to reinventing the game, using different mechanics, finding a new way to express what we've all come to love about Pandemic, the original game, in different versions. Well, dice, a great mechanic. They created a dice game. Risk Legacy came out, and now they're working on Pandemic Legacy. It's a great mechanic, great way of extending the brand. Contagion specifically flips the game around, and it actually borrows a little bit from games like Smash Up, where everybody's competing to take over a particular card. In this case, in Pandemic Contagion, it's cities that we've come to know from playing Pandemic. Every city has a population level, and it's up to us to overwhelm that city by placing our cubes on it. In the original Pandemic, every city just had a limit of 3. In this, we're racing to fill up the card. Say a particular city has 9 cubes, so we're trying to put as many of our infection cubes. We're competing. You know, it's not like we're cooperating anymore to take over the world. We're competing to be the one who kills the most. I guess that's really what it comes down to. We're killing people with this game, but we're just using little transparent cubes to do it with. So the point of this game is to wipe out cities, or to be the dominant force in the cities that are attacked by infection. We do this through adjusting our individual powers. Everybody starts off with 3 basic abilities. The number of cards that you draw every time you choose that action, the number of cubes you place during an infection, and then the resistance that you have, because every round you turn up an event card, and some of them are bad for viruses. It's like they're fighting us back. Why would they want to do that? But sometimes the UN, the World Health Organization, comes up with something to push us back. So the resistance mitigates that factor. And we have the option to change those powers, to either draw more cards, to place more cubes, or to have stronger resistance. The one other factor is you score points for having the most cubes. You also get a bonus for finishing up a city. If a particular city has 9 million inhabitants, signified by the number 9, whoever places the 9th cube on that card triggers a special action that's found at the bottom of the card. So it's not just a matter of trying to have the most on a particular card, but to have the last one on a particular card. And by the way, there's point values for the top 3 finishers in each city. Ties are settled by whoever was the first into that city. So the city cards actually have lines drawn through the middle. So the first one in there puts theirs on the first line, their cubes, the second one on the second. And that's how tiebreakers are resolved. It's a pretty cool way of doing that. But all of the components are things that we're familiar with, the cubes and the cities, and the cards with the various colors on them. Very familiar to people who've played Pandemic. So the question is not whether it's a good Pandemic game, but whether the game stands on its own. Is it a worthy game? What did you guys think?
So I've played this game a couple times now, and the first time it was hard to get past this is just like Smash Up, which I know if you've heard anything about this game, it's probably one of the first arguments that comes up, is whether it is or is not a derivative of Smash Up. I don't think it's a full derivative. There's a lot of things that are unique about it. It definitely takes the core mechanic of everybody building towards a certain break number on a city or a card, or a city in this case. But your ability to mutate your virus and draw more cards or increase your infection level, it's more complex than Smash Up, which is a relatively simple game. So the comparison, I think, ends with the way in which you break the cities. The actual game, though, because we played it twice, played extremely different both times. So I think...
Depending on the event cards, how they come out.
The event cards drive the game almost entirely. Because the first game we played, we cleared the table. All the cities were wiped out because none of the event cards really hit us that hard. The second time, there were still like 7 cities left, and the scores were all like only one person broke 50, whereas the first game everybody broke 50. It was a lot harder to get anything done because it kept pulling our virus cubes off the table. It was immensely frustrating, which is probably more in line with the way the game's supposed to go. Is that it's hard,
Those UN people are always trying to stop our evil-doing virus activities.
Stupid World Health Organization.
Jeez.
Well, this was a case where one of the factors I tried building was the resistance. So when a card came up that says remove 3 cubes of every... I still had some cubes left on the board when everybody else lost theirs.
Yep. It's definitely a little bit of press your luck there, because there's a chance that those World Health Organization cards don't hurt you that bad.
Yeah.
So you could just dump all your resources into incubation and infection and just try to rush the board, or you could play it safe and build up your resistance so those cards don't hurt you, but then you're not doing anything for the first few turns of the game. So I think most of us did the former, and we suffered for it, except for Drew, who did the latter and ran away with it.
Resistance was not futile.
No. So that was cool because it does impact the way you play. Like, you can take a risk and maybe the cards aren't that bad, or maybe the cards pull 4 cubes off and your resistance is worthless and you just lose everything you built over the last few turns.
Drew, the event deck, is that always the same cards but in different order, or is there other cards that you discard? And
There are, I think there are 2 different decks, just your basic event deck and then a UN WHO deck.
Sure.
You're pulling 3 cards from each deck out of the game, so they're set aside. And so what you have left are 12 cards that you play. So out of 18 total cards, you're only using 12.
That's good.
The first time Anthony and I played it the same time, we only got through 7 or 8 of those, I think.
Yeah.
So
We cleared the whole table.
if the game goes quickly, you're not even using all those.
that's really interesting because, as Anthony was saying, that really gives you a different gameplay, especially since you don't know what's going to happen to your virus. So maybe you could get away with just spreading, fast and furious, and maybe you don't get pulled off, or maybe you get pulled off each and every time and you never get to build if you don't build a resistance.
Now, here's something else that changed between the 2 games Anthony played. Some of the cards, the event cards, are marked with cities. So when you turn that particular event card over, you add another city to the tableau. 4-player game, you start with 9 cities.
Sure.
The first time we played, I don't think we added any until very late in the game.
We added 1
Late
the
in the
whole
game.
game. Yeah, and so we cleared all of them, and we're like, how do we get more cities? We cleared it so fast we thought we played the game wrong. That's how
It ended.
Whereas in the second time you played it, we got 2 cities like right away. So right early in the game, we were playing with 11 cities. So you have decisions to make. Try to clear a board. You only have so many infection cubes. So if you're spread out, if you diversify too much, no cards are broken, and you're left with no infection cubes left. You're sitting there drawing cards, basically doing nothing else. So you really want to start breaking these cards, scoring your points, and getting some powers so that you can free up your cubes for more infection. That's one of the things. And sometimes if you know somebody is all tied up, you purposefully don't break a card just so they can't do anything.
Sure. I really enjoyed what was surprising to me is your own kind of machine, your mechanic that you were putting together. If you were building up your resistance, if you were mutating, just that was really very much your own. So it wasn't kind of like you and I are doing the same thing every round. So I could put out 3 or 4 where you could put out 2, but your things are stronger than mine. Yeah. So I like that idea. It was nice to be able to kind of mutate and adjust things on my own board. And it didn't take a lot of work. It's a pretty simple game as far as you get to take 2 actions and you get to choose from the 2, the actions that you have listed on that little board. So that little player board gives you the list of the actions, the 3 different opportunities to kind of mutate and change those abilities. So pretty simple as far as gameplay is concerned, but a good amount of different tactical decisions to make in the game and strategic decisions on where you're going to place your cubes and if you're going to break someone else's location.
Exactly. It all changes from game to game.
Yeah, it was surprisingly... the first game, I wasn't sure what I thought, but having played it a couple times now, I think it's well designed. I think it's a tight game mechanically. I think the replayability is there. I think the variability is a little funky. The range and the way the game can play makes it so it might be a little harder to teach up front, like telling people what to expect.
Yeah.
So the first time through the game, you're like, all right, these are the mechanics. Stuff's going to happen.
Yeah, let's just turn a card over and see what happens.
Yeah. Which is kind of to the spirit of Pandemic. So, I like that. That's cool.
But, well, it's close enough to Pandemic so that if you played Pandemic, I think I can figure this out. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I like the variability, too, because if you always had to, raise your resistance, it would kind of be a boring game because you knew, I have to take this step and I have to take that step. So by having a lot of different event cards, that's pretty interesting. I don't know what to expect, and I can play by the seat of my pants.
Yeah, since there's no variation between what different diseases can do by default, you need that variability between the way the game will come out time over time, because that means that there's different strategies for how you build things. I did find myself missing variability based on my disease, right? So there, like Anthony brought up, and I'm sure everyone's brought up, there's this comparison to Smash Up, and right, in Smash Up, everyone's different. Yeah. And I like that. I like that everyone's got their distinct mechanic and their distinct way of moving and acting. And in this game, it's all very... You all have the same capacities at the beginning, and you can all develop in the same ways. and the only differences you can get are quantitative, not qualitative, right? You can do more of the same stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I did find myself missing that, and it started making the game feel sort of dry to me after a while.
It is a little, and it's tough because the theme doesn't really come through super strong.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it should. This game kind of falls in that area where it could make people uncomfortable if you start thinking about it too much. A couple of times I'm like,
Oh, they're very plain in the rules. You know, the city has 9 million people, and you're wiping it out. It's kill. They use the word kill. You're killing people.
Thematically, I mean, it's all there. It's a little more abstract though because there's not a map. Like the full game, there's a map, so you can see what you're trying to save.
Yeah.
You have people on cards. You have faces. You know, it's more character to it, which makes sense in a co-op. But this game, and maybe it's just like the timing, like what's been going on in the news lately. It's there is a borderline pandemic happening and people are trying to stop it, so playing a game in which you're trying to kill people with a disease is like, I don't know if I like this too much. But the theme isn't so thick that it I don't know, it doesn't feel like
it's not oppressive.
You can just be playing cubes, which I would have liked to seen some additional mechanics. I know that the locations are variable, but I would have liked to seen a situation where if you have an infection in one area, that it could spread to the other adjacent cards, the other areas.
Oh, that would have been nice.
That would have been kind of cool. And I would also like to see a little more player interaction, whereas, like, I was the first virus there, or I have the most virus cubes in a location, and therefore I'm going to mutate and take over Daniel's virus that's in that location, take his cube out and replace it with one of my own, almost like Revolution does.
Okay.
You know, so like there could be a special card or ability to be able to kind of like, oh, you're killing people. I'm taking now, converting your virus into my virus, and now we're doing something there. So,
but it'd make more sense.
Secondary infection.
It'd make more sense geographically on a map. This is just cards dealt to a tableau. It doesn't have that same geographic connection.
But even with the, and unfortunately we know about like with air travel and everything, you could say,
Oh, air travel?
Yeah.
And it's tough because it's easy to be like, oh, expansions, but it doesn't seem like they have that in mind here. Like everything is very tightly packed in this little box, and it's actually like what you get in this box, and I think it's $30 MSRP. It's a pretty good deal, but it's really tightly packed. There's no room in here for extra stuff,
which is good for finally for once that you don't get this gigantic box with 2 components in it. Uh-oh.
I can see a small deck
did someone place cubes on you, Daniel?
Sorry. Here, let me place some more cubes on and we can break them.
It's my apartment.
I can see.
I can see maybe them coming out with a small deck of expansion. I can see them coming out with a small deck of event cards by way of expansion, but that's pretty much
It's a self-contained game.
Yeah, they're not going to expand the mechanics on this probably.
No.
They could, like you said. I mean, that would be a cool way.
It's $1 million idea.
Done. Let's do
I'm
it.
telling you, it's a cool
Tweak
mechanic.
it.
It only just needs a couple of different rule changes. That's all.
Well, I think it is a good part of the Pandemic family. It supports the brand very well. On its own, I give this a strong play. I can't see categorizing it as a buy. At this point, it's sort of slight. It's a light game. I would love to play it if somebody else bought it. It does have that replayability, but I don't know if it has a future. If it's like you say, there's not much room for expansion.
Yeah, I mean, there's no fat to this game. It really is well thought out. It's mechanically perfect. It's thematic, not heavily thematic, but it has enough theme to it that if you want to look for a theme, you will find a theme in this game, and you can play it out in such a way. As Anthony was saying, it does have a little more of a sinister theme to it, so it's almost a buy for me. I would like to see some additional mechanics, maybe either from a variability or if somebody can kind of put those together. But Pandemic has been a little bit bland, but this gameplay is tight enough and the game is short enough that it's like you said, Joe, it's a strong play, but maybe even a buy if I can pick this up in a good situation where it gives me just a little bit more. It's almost a buy there for me, which I'm surprised.
Yeah, I mean, I think with this game, they've done a good job of not overdoing it with this mechanic. So sometimes when you see a mechanic in another game, you're like, oh, let's use that and build on it, or we have this idea, let's integrate it, and they do too much with it. Like high command and Hordes and War Machine did that
Way too much.
Way too much.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, this cool idea where you take all these locations and these other 6 mechanics and then these mechanics and then this deck building mechanic, and then it became a mess. This game, they made it very tight, and they found a way to make it unique to the Pandemic world, which is cool. So it feels like the Pandemic brand while using this other unique mechanic. And that's hard to do sometimes. It doesn't feel like a retheme or a reskin of another type of game. It feels like its own game, which is cool. I don't know how often I would play it, like if I owned it, so I don't feel like it was something I want in my collection necessarily. And for reference, I don't own Smash Up either. It's like that's not a game I feel like would come out a lot in my house either. So it's not like I like the mechanic and don't think Pandemic does it well. I just don't necessarily know what situations I would play. But on the same side of things, I think I'm with Drew. It's a strong play. I think it's a good game. I think it's worth playing. If you like Pandemic and all of its expansions, I think you'll like this game. And if someone else had it, I would absolutely play it when it came out.
Anthony, remember we played Study in Emerald, and there was the 2 different roles. One was to kind of save the ancient ones, and one was to kill the ancient ones. Mm-hmm. How about if you had a hidden role in this game where, like what scientists and doctors try to do is, put in a cure that looks like the disease, but it's actually curing people because it mimics certain things in order to kind of kill those diseases. But you're breaking locations, but it turns out that you're a cure that's being put out into the public.
So you're suggesting a trader mechanic?
A trader mechanic, but in this trader mechanic, it's a positive trader. It's a good guy. Well. It's a good virus. It's almost like a nanovirus taking over in order to kind of immunization all of the people in that location.
You wouldn't necessarily guarantee that there's a trader, so to speak, in each game, but like I think Dead of Winter does this, there's always a chance that there's a...
You could. I mean, it doesn't... The other viruses are not going to care, but you could have one of those situations where, instead of, kind of tweaking the negative connotation of the theme a little bit, you could be a vaccine that's being spread throughout locations too.
Okay, let's work on this variation.
Now we have a $2 million idea.
Yeah, for me, I thought the gameplay was actually a little bit bland, right? I liked the event deck variability, but the rest of it seemed very, very bland to me, and the art also seemed rather bland to me. I mean, they all have the same picture on every card, and so for me, this would be a weak play. The only reason it's still in play is because it's so short that you're not suffering much if you don't like it. But if it got any longer, it would move down to dodge, I think. But there are better games on my shelf. There are games that do this mechanic that I enjoy this mechanic, and there are other games I think do it better, Smash Up particularly. So I'd be very hard pressed to find a time where I would pick this game to play.
Would this be worth adding to the short list of filler games? Do you think it would fill that role?
I don't think it's that short.
No.
No, but I do agree with you. If it was longer, if this game took like an hour and a half, it would be a dodge for me too, I think.
Yeah.
Like, I can't see playing this multiple times at 90 minutes. It's not, so that's not an issue, but it's short, so that definitely plays to its strengths.
And sometimes the way the event decks come up, it can be really short.
And I know, artwork is always a consideration in price, but as Daniel said, it would have been nice to have different artwork, and the graphic design and the cards were a little plain. I mean, for the price of the game, it's totally understandable and reasonable. But for full MSRP, I would like to have seen something a little more dramatic kind of artwork. Yeah.
All right, Pandemic Contagion. It's a
Well-branded game and worth playing.
Yeah,
definitely,
absolutely. And this is the first of the non-co-op Pandemic branded games to hit the shelves. So we'll try to swing back and touch on The Cure when that one comes out, and then Legacy. I know we're all psyched for that.
Yes,
probably next year or the year after. Who knows how long it takes to write a Legacy game?
Yeah.
All right, so that's everything for our feature review this week. Next up, the final round.
So Veterans Day is coming up soon. Not a day to celebrate war, but an observance of those who have given their lives. When we play war games or board games like war, we're not celebrating destruction and death, but we're appreciating the complexity sometimes of the issues behind war and the difficulty of putting your lives on the line. There are some really good board games that have war themes that sort of straddle that line, and that's what I thought we might focus on here. Games that best straddle that line of board game and war game both. The most fondly remembered war game is basically an extension of the old little pushing soldiers around the floor to imitate war, and that's Stratego, where you're just pushing little wooden pieces around the board to find the flag, to capture the flag. Stratego is pretty much a straight-up war game, transferred onto cardboard, tabletop, and it's simple to learn, easy to play. You still have that theme, your generals and your miners, you're trying to break through the other lines and find their flag and avoid their bombs. Simplistic war, but it really does capture, I think, the theme very well, and it's a great starter game, great way to teach kids. I learned it as a youngin', so that's my favorite.
I'm going to pick Memoir 44. I think what is really interesting and unique about this game, and what really kind of brings home the situation and the honor and sacrifice of the veterans, is you're actually putting out these figures, and you can get a sense, a very small, tiny sense, but a sense nonetheless, of the enormous obstacles and danger and just complexity and just crisis that was going on, and yet you had to move forward, and you had to send men to their death, and just, endless, in waves and waves. So the game and the mechanics that go into play here are respectful, are interesting, and are visceral when you play this game. So it really does, for me, embody that kind of memory and sacrifice.
For me, I'm probably going to go with Axis and Allies. It's a classic game. It has the complexity that makes a good war game, and the sort of portability and relative ease compared to other war games anyway that makes a good board game. And I think it provides enough detail to provide a good high-level view, a view at 30,000 feet of war, right? Obviously, no board game is going to capture what life is like on the ground, but it might give you an idea of things like logistical considerations and troop movements and that sort of thing. And I think Axis and Allies does reasonably well there.
It gives you that chance to play what armchair historians enjoy, changing history. Okay, yeah. If you change your strategy and do this instead of that, would the results have been different? Sometimes that's one of the more interesting things about a war game, because it's basically history. It comes down to changing history. That is our remembrance of Veterans Day.
All right, so one more thing before we sign off for the day. We did get a question in via email responding to one of the segments we had a couple weeks ago about Oomba, or as Drew put it, MBA. Oomba. This is from Michael Grohl. He's in Germany, all the way out there, and he brought to our attention the fact that Oomba has been involved in, to some degree, a kind of a Kickstarter concern of sorts. So we wanted to address that because there are some people out there who are involved in this, about close to 1,000 backers who are concerned, understandably so, about what happened.
Yeah. It's another one of those Kickstarter nightmares. You don't always want to take the position that if you give money to a Kickstarter project and you don't get anything back, that it's a scam. There are a few scams. But with the prevalence of Kickstarter, what's more likely happening is you have a company out there starting a Kickstarter project when they had no business to. They might have an interesting idea, a concept, a game. In this case, it was a combination of a game called Zico and an online platform, which eventually became Oomba. And they just weren't ready. There were problems with the original project moving forward. Someone on the board filed a lawsuit. There was bankruptcy. There was a lot going on. This was basically just a half-formed idea that wasn't ready for its time. The one thing that came out of this was the online platform, Oomba, which also became a live streaming service for board gamers. That's still a strong going concern, and the tendency may be among some to blame Oomba for what happened to this game, Zico. There are two different things. The one thing that ties the two together is the founder of Oomba, Michael Williams, was also one of the project creators for Zico. But they are actually two separate projects, and we don't want to make it sound like we are supporting anything which scammed people. Just want to make it aware that sometimes stories are more complicated than we think. It's also a cautionary tale. Just be careful about backing projects from people that don't have much of a pedigree, don't have much of a history. This was a solid game, and Amy Tucker, who was the creator of the game, was known to people. But as a business concern, it just never got off the ground.
Yeah, and it's understandably, if you're one of those backers and you've yet to see anything 2 years later, you're concerned, you're upset. So it's, we totally understand, Michael, where you're coming from, and we're glad to be able to bring this to light if anybody who's not aware of it. And of course, anybody who wants to make sure they don't get scammed on Kickstarter, make sure you listen to Chris's podcast,
Kick in the Habit, because that was the reason why we started that podcast, because so many of these projects are wonderful, rare gems that if you could find them, you could help some great people and get a great game. And some of these are horrible money traps that where people are looking to just grab your money and run. And it's difficult to figure out which are which. Yeah. So what we try to do each and every week is to help you look at the projects intelligently in order to make a educated guess if this is a project that will fund and is worth your money.
All right. Thanks for doing that for us, Chris.
All right. So, again, thank you, Michael, for your email. He also asked us about what we think of games 6 months to a year later. So that might be something we take a look at in future episodes now that we're over a year in. Kind of our look backs. In particular, the Game of Thrones LCG. I can tell you right now that I wish we played it more, but it's been a long time since we got that to the table. Part of that being that we're constantly reviewing new games. So something to keep in mind when you ask podcasters whether they've played an old game again recently. But again, thank you for your email, and we'll be keeping an eye on those things in the future. But for this week, make sure you follow us on Facebook and Twitter. We're at BGA Podcast. Make sure you download and listen to Kick in the Habit. New episodes out every Wednesday. And make sure that you connect with us on Board Game Geek, where we have a guild, as well as BoardGamersAnonymous.com, where you'll find all of Drew's most recent articles and all the podcast episodes posted there. But that's everything for this week. This is Anthony.
This is Chris.
This is Daniel.
And this is Drew.
And until next time, we'll save you a seat in the quarantine zone.
Daniel's apartment.